Hi, welcome to episode 166 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. And if you haven't come and joined us, please do. So hello, how are you? It is Sunday, January, let me think about this, 7th. It is a rainy and chilly day here. Not quite cold enough for everything to freeze, so we are getting rain, which is nice. And the next couple days are actually supposed to be in the 40s, which for us is kind of a heat wave after the recent cold days that we have had. We have not had the snow that the East Coast has had and some of the miserable winter weather they've had. We've just been cold for the last couple weeks, but it is starting to warm up just a smidge. I'm sure we'll be super cold again, but you know, that's how the Midwest is. So I hope that you are enjoying your new year. It has been a new year since I talked to you. I had a great time with Liz the last episode, and thank you so much for your kind comments. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I believe she is on her way back to her home state of Arizona today, and I already miss her. I wish we lived closer more of the year so that we could see each other. But we had a great time. And I got a lot of knitting done that day because after we recorded, we sat down and just knit for a while. And I got more done last weekend and the first. And then this week I haven't gotten as much done as I meant to. I sort of hit the new year, hit the ground running, and have been doing lots of different things with tech editing and a variety of other things. I'm kind of trying to get my business side of things in order. So this week has been super busy with that, plus New Year things at work. So that has kept me kind of busy. I haven't gotten as much knit time as I wish I had, but I do have some crafting to share with you. And finally, we have a new knit along, I should say craft along in the group, which is make something for yourself. I call it the selfish craft along. Selfish comes with, it's a word that comes with baggage, but basically what I want you to do is we have spent the holidays cooking and cleaning and making gifts for other people, and so now it is time for you to sit in and enjoy the new year and work on something that makes you feel good. So the only rule is it can't be a gift for someone else. It has to be something for yourself. You can knit, spin, crochet, weave, sew, whatever craft it is that you do, and that will be running from January 1st through January 31st. Works in progress are okay as long as at least half of the work is done this month. And I will open up, I think we already have our first finished object, so I will open up a finished objects thread and we will do prize draws at the end of the month for that. I'll have a couple prizes to give away for that. So craft something that you want. So let's get into today's podcast. I am drinking, it is a fandom blend from Adagio. I have talked about Adagio teas before. I like them because they offer sample sizes, a whole variety of teas. You can put together your own tea based on some of their components, or you can shop their fandom blends. A lot of people create blends organized around a certain thing that they're into, and then you can purchase them. And you can open them up for sale to others. And my husband over Christmas purchased me a set for Critical Role. For those of you who don't know, Critical Role is a Dungeons & Dragons game that is played by voice actors on the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. They play once a week, and they were running a campaign that actually just ended. And somebody on Adagio did a fandom blend, and my husband got me all 12 blends, and so it was just a fun little Christmas package. The blend I'm drinking today is Glorious, which if you watch Critical Role, it is for Gilmore's Glorious Goods. It comes in this little tin with this nice little label, and it is masala chai and almond oolong, and it says a blend for the arcane experts. So that is what I'm drinking today, and I'm drinking it in my Friend of the Pod mug. That is from Pod Save America and Pod Save the World, and so I am drinking my masala chai. And that is delicious. I love both masala chai and I really like Adagio's almond oolong. So this is like one of those perfect blends for me. And add to it that it's a little fun from a creative thing that I'm a fan of. So the other thing that happened this week, which you may or may not notice, is I got new glasses. It is the first time I have had new glasses since 2011. My prescription has changed slightly. I am super happy with the frames, although I am still just a wee bit discombobulated at having new frames and a new prescription. So, but I'm glad that I got some new frames. I was excited to get some. And so that is something that I'm adjusting to, but a little something that's different this week for the new year. So let's get into the knits. I am, of course, still working on my Advent calendar blanket. This is the 10-stitch twist blanket by Frankie Brown. It is available on Ravelry, I believe, for free. It is a 10-stitch pattern that is modular. It just keeps growing. And I am using the Opal Advent calendar, which was a set of 24 mini skeins of Opal yarns, Opal sock yarns. And I just started my 18th, so I am a little bit behind. Last week when Liz was here, I was working on my 16th, so I have not really had a lot of progress on this blanket this week. I've been trying to work on some other January knits. But my hope is to maybe finish this by the end of January. I don't know if that's going to happen because I have a few other deadline things, but I hope so. I did sit down and, like I said, start the 18th skein today. That's where the yellow meets the pink. And so my plan is to just keep going with this until I run out of minis. And so the Advent calendar had 24 minis, and then I had 2 other minis from a previous year that somebody had sent me in a swap. And then I had 2 other small balls of Opal sock yarn. One was a Harry Potter Tonks sock yarn that I just had little bits left of because I knit myself socks and my sister, or Roxy socks. And so I put that in here. So that gets me up to basically 28 minis. And then I have an Opal Sweet and Spicy, a full skein that I think I'm going to try and do the border in. So I still have a ways to go. I don't know if it will happen this month, but this still is a project that makes me crazy happy because it's crazy colorful and fun. And so that is what I'm working on. And it is probably about maybe 2 feet in diameter now, maybe a little bit more. And my hope is that it will be just a lap blanket. So I'll probably get 3 to 4 more rounds and then the final round. And then I haven't decided if I'm going to do like an I-cord edging or exactly what I'm going to do. So that is progress on my Opal Advent blanket. I am using US, let me see, 2.5 millimeter, which is I think a US 1.5. And these are my signature needles. And I have not managed to poke myself with them yet and do major damage. So that is my first work in progress. I should have started with finished objects, although I don't have it here. My finished object for the week is that I finished that second pink protest hat for my mom, and actually she sent me a selfie yesterday of her wearing it, so it has already gotten there. And so that was technically it was actually my last finished object for 2018. So, the next thing that I talked about this last week, which was was going to start a shawl, and I was doing it with 3 skeins of Zen Yarn Garden from their Magic Die Pot series. The shawl I selected, I did not have the pattern printed out before, and it will be a little hard to see because I printed it at work in black and white. So it's a little hard to tell what's going on, but the pattern that I am doing is called Love You Baby. It is by Suzanne Summer, and it was originally a knit-along for the Do You Knit shop in New Jersey. And it calls for 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn to be knit in a variety of textures and patterns. And the first section is called Brioche Love, which pretty much explains it. And I am using 2 of the colorways. So the Zen Yarn Garden Magical Die Pot series, hang on because I have all my tags. This is the Zen Yarn Garden tag, and the base is Superfine Fingering, 90% Superfine, Superwash Merino, 10% nylon, approximately 400 yards. And then the series that I am doing is the Magical Die Pot series. And the way the Magical Die Pot series was conceived is they have 6 different series. So that's A through F. And I chose series C. And then in each series, sorry, my yarn went for a walk. In each series, they have 6 colorways. And these colorways are dyed with a similar set of colors so that all the skeins in the set are both coordinating and complementary, so that you could do a project in any of all 6 of them if you want, or pick a subset of them. And my offer from Zen Yarn Garden, because I did receive this for free for review, was to pick any 3 skeins in a single series and do a project with them. So this, the colors that I am currently using are C1 and C6. I also have C3, which I hope will be in the next episode, but I haven't wound it yet. This is, I believe, oh gosh, I'm terrible. These are the 2 colors that I'm using right now. One is a white, and then the camera's totally blowing it out, but it's got bits of red and pink and purple in it. And then the other is this great orange that we talked about last week, like a blood orange. It's got orange and coral and pink and red in it. And the section that I am doing is brioche. So you can see that's got a better of the white speckled and the orange, and then this is the back side with the orange and the white. And I am approximately halfway to my stitch count, so I'm not even halfway done with the knitting of this section. I really enjoy brioche knitting. I like it, and once you get into the rhythm of it, I feel like it's a pleasant knit. That said, it takes forever, and basically you are increasing in this pattern, and I'm not giving away the secret sauce, you are increasing 2 stitches every 8 rows. So it's taking me a while to get to where I need to be. I had really hoped I would be there this weekend, but apparently not. So this is what I've got so far. It's going to be an asymmetrical triangle, and then the next section is called, the first one is called Brioche Love, the second section is called Stripes Baby, and I'm going to pick up along this edge that I am creating here where I have slipped stitches for my brioche, and there's going to be a garter stripe section, and it will be a garter stripe section with the orange, and then with the other colorway, which is the base looks like it is a brown, and then it's got orange and purple and a variety of other colors in it. So my hope is by the next time I talk to you, I will have most, if not all, of the stripe section done, but we'll see. And there are 4 sections to this shawl, and the final one is brioche again. So I kind of need to have this done this month, so I suspect this is the knit that I'm going to try and jam on. But like I said, you can see a little closer, it's got some speckles in it, and then it's got this slightly, I would call it mostly a tonal. It's a bit variegated, but yeah. And I lost one of the balls on the floor, but I'll go get that later. So that is the second knit that's on my needles. The third knit that is on my needles happened yesterday. We actually went to see The Last Jedi yesterday in the theater, and my handspun socks are about ready for me to put a heel in, and the brioche pattern I cannot do in the dark, and I also need to do some counting on the advent blanket because I need to put some short rows in there every so often, and so I didn't have anything to take to the movies with me to knit. And earlier this week, I talked to my sister and Roxy and Miles on Skype, which was super fun. But my sister said, you know, I'm kind of jealous because the kids get all these great hats and I could use a hat. And I was like, okay. And she said, I really like the one you did for Roxy that was all speckled and stuff. And I was like, okay. And she was like, can I have one? So the hat she's talking about that I did for Roxy is a super simple hat. I've knit it many times. It is the Purl Soho Classic Cuffed Hat. Basically, it is a generous section of ribbing down at the bottom so that you can basically fold it, and it is doubled as a brim, and that is just a regular stockinette hat, and it has a really big pom-pom on it. So my sister said, I really even like the yarn you used for Roxy. And I don't have more of that, but I did have something pretty that I thought she would like. This is actually a skein that I got at Rhinebeck. I was going to use it for me, but I'm being good and using from my stash and not hoarding my stash for myself. So this skein is, it is a dyer that we discovered at Rhinebeck, me and my friends. It is called Cozy Colorworks. I can't tell if you can see that because from here it looks like it's blowing it out. It is called Cozy Colorworks. It is hand-dyed superwash merino, approximately 550 yards, fingering weight. And they now have an Etsy, it's not an Etsy shop, I think it's their own. It's called cozycolorworks.com. I have not seen this color again because of course I was going to buy another skein for myself because I'm terrible. Anyway, it is a beautiful speckled skein. It is black and kind of green and a dark magenta. It's kind of hard to tell from here. Yes. And so the classic cuffed hat is a worsted weight hat, but I didn't have enough worsted weight in any colorway that I would use for my sister, so I'm using this doubled. I should have enough to do her hat, do a generous pom-pom, and still have a little bit left over. I figure, best case, I'll just put some in my sock blanket for myself. My mom might, darn it, my mom might get a square as well. So I did this in the dark yesterday, and now that I'm looking at it, it's pooling, but it's actually not bad at all. It is kind of pooling in a roundy kind of way. You can see this is what it's doing. So it is the pink, the black, and then the green. It kind of almost looks a little yellow, but I think it's actually green. And that is not, I noticed that it was pooling on the couple rows before we went into the theater, but I didn't notice that it was doing quite this much. But actually, if it keeps this up, I don't mind it at all, and hopefully my sister won't mind it at all. So that is what I'm working on for her. I need to measure the ribbing. I can't remember whether it's 4 or 6 inches. If it's 4, I'm pretty sure I'm there. If it's 6, I'm not. And I'm going to work on this week and hopefully get this off to her soon because she is in Chicago. So of course she is freezing. So, and I'm knitting the brim on 6s and I'll knit the body on 7s, which is what I usually do. I can't remember if that's what the pattern calls for or not. But those are the 2 needles that I have, a 6 and a 7, and they're both 16 inches, so they're perfect for hats. And I just keep them in a bag together. One of them is that my 7s are my marbles, so it's easy to tell which ones they are because they are the bright green marbles. So I just keep these and a 6 in a bag together, and I use that constantly for hats. That's kind of my standard go-to hat bag. So that is my final knit. Sip of tea, and then let's go on to the spins. For the first week of the year, I am sort of back into my productive fiber ways. I shouldn't say that because it's only been 1 week. But I finished the braid that I showed you last week. Last week I told you about a dear friend who had destashed a bunch of her fiber to me, and the fiber that she gave me that I pulled out to spin was Spunky Eclectic. It was her Polworth, and the colorway was Snow Leopard. And it was mostly white with blues and grays, and I got a really cool, I think of this almost as a neutral. It's like a pale blue and gray and white, and it has not had its bath yet, but it is really spectacular. I really like this one, and it will puff up quite a bit, I'm sure, because it's Polworth, and this will go up in the shop this week, but I am super pleased with it, and my guess is I got probably 350 yards, and it will probably be between a fingering and sport weight when it gets done puffing up in the bath. So if these are colors that you enjoy, it's like I said, it's very neutral and kind of pretty skein, very wintry colors, not the brights that I usually am interested in, but I really like it. I think it would be great for winter accessories. Polworth would make good socks. It's not superwash, but it would make great socks. It would make a pretty shawl too, or shawlette. I think it would be really, really nice. So I'm gonna wash this up and then keep an eye on my Instagram. It will probably go up into the shop this week, which brings me to what I'm gonna spin this week. After I picked that one last week and I had done a couple weeks of fall colors, I said I was gonna pick something bright. I decided also to go into my stash and try and pick something that was deep stash. So here we go. This is Two If by Hand. They are sadly no longer dying. This is from the 2011 Summer Club. So this is nicely aged in my stash. It is blue-faced Lester, and it is called Regeneration. And the monitor isn't picking up the colors quite right. It is teals and greens and cornflower blues and purple. So that is what I'm going to spin this week. If this looks like it is something you would enjoy, it will be going into the shop. So it is just a fun, bright spin for this week. And that's what I plan to do. So I think that's it. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you have had a wonderful start to the year, that you are managing to stay warm where you are, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, managing to stay cool. And I hope that you're enjoying all of your crafting and off to a good year. I will say until I see you next time, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!